Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Carl Gustav Jung. Have you ever felt it? That quiet panic when a text goes unanswered for too long? That gnawing anxiety that a small disagreement might be the beginning of the end? Or perhaps you know the opposite feeling all too well. A sense of suffocation when someone gets too close. An almost compulsive need to pull away, to create distance, to reclaim your space, even from a person you genuinely care about. We live in a world that tells us our relationship problems are about finding the right person, about communication techniques, or about timing. We blame our partners. We blame the dating pool. We blame ourselves for being too much or not enough. But what if the greatest obstacle to the love you crave isn't any of those things? What if it's a silent, invisible script, a core programming written for you before you could even speak a single word? A blueprint that dictates who you're drawn to, how you behave in intimacy, and why you keep repeating the same painful patterns, lover after lover. Today, we are not talking about superficial dating advice. We are going deep into the architecture of your heart. We will be using the profound lens of attachment theory, a groundbreaking psychological framework that explains more about our adult love lives than almost any other concept. This isn't just about understanding an interesting idea. It's about uncovering the unconscious operating system that is running your relationships. And once you see it, you can begin the work of rewriting it. The psychological roots of this script begin with the most fundamental human question, a question every infant brain must answer. Is the world a safe place? Is there someone I can reliably turn to in my moment of need? The way this question was answered for you in the first years of your life, by your primary caregivers, didn't just shape your childhood. It forged a template, a powerful model for what you should expect from others, and how you must behave to get your needs for love, safety, and connection met. This isn't about blame. It's not about finding fault with parents who were likely doing the best they could with the tools they had. It is about understanding the mechanics of your own mind. Your relational patterns aren't random. They aren't a sign that you are broken. They are a logical, albeit often outdated, adaptation to your earliest experiences of connection. To truly grasp this, we must first look at the three primary patterns that emerge from these early experiences. These are the archetypes of attachment: the secure, the anxious, and the avoidant. As I describe them, resist the urge to immediately label yourself or others. Simply listen and notice what resonates. The first step towards changing a pattern is to see it with unflinching clarity. Let's begin with the one that often feels the most turbulent: the anxious attachment style. For the individual with an anxious attachment system, the core wound is uncertainty. In childhood, their caregiver was likely inconsistent. Sometimes they were warm, available, and attuned. Other times they were distracted, overwhelmed, or emotionally absent. The child learns a devastating lesson. Love is precarious and must be actively earned over and over again. They become hypervigilant, constantly scanning their caregiver's mood for signs of withdrawal or disapproval. Their nervous system is wired to detect even the slightest threat of abandonment, because for a child, abandonment is a matter of survival. In adulthood, this hypervigilance doesn't just disappear. It metastasizes into the romantic sphere. The adult with an anxious style lives with a constant, low-level hum of fear that their partner will leave them. They need frequent reassurance to soothe this anxiety. A delayed text message isn't just a delayed message. It's a potential sign of rejection. A partner wanting a night out with friends isn't a healthy expression of autonomy. It's a potential threat to the connection. They are often described as needy or clingy, but these are just surface-level judgments of a much deeper dynamic. What they are truly doing is employing activating strategies. These are behaviors designed to pull their partner closer, to get a response, any response, that proves the connection is still there. This can look like excessive texting or calling, trying to provoke a reaction through jealousy, or suppressing their own needs to become the perfect partner. hoping that being indispensable will prevent them from being abandoned. The internal world of an anxiously attached person is a storm of what-ifs. What if they find someone better? What if I said the wrong thing? What if their silence means they're losing interest? Their desire for fusion is immense. They don't just want to be with their partner, they want to merge with them. The idea of a better half is deeply appealing because they feel fundamentally incomplete on their own. The tragedy is that their activating strategies, born from a desperate need for security, often end up pushing their partners away, thereby confirming their deepest fear, that they are, in fact, destined to be abandoned. It becomes a brutal, self-fulfilling prophecy. But this pattern of seeking constant reassurance is only one side of the coin. What happens when this person is drawn, almost magnetically, to someone who offers the exact opposite? Someone who sees this need for closeness not as a bid for connection, but as a threat to their very survival. This is where the true tragedy begins, as we now explore the avoidant style. The avoidant attachment style. If the core wound of the anxious type is uncertainty, the core wound of the avoidant type is rejection. The individual with an avoidant attachment system likely had a caregiver who was consistently unavailable, dismissive of their needs, or even outright rejecting when they expressed distress. The child learns another devastating yet life-saving lesson. Expressing my needs leads to punishment or neglect. My vulnerability is not welcome here. To survive, I must rely only on myself. They learn to self-soothe, to suppress their emotions, and to become fiercely, prematurely independent. They are often praised as being good or easy babies because they don't cry out. But this silence is not a sign of contentment. It's a sign of resignation. In adulthood, this fierce independence becomes their defining characteristic. The adult with an avoidant style is the lone wolf. They equate intimacy with a loss of self. While they desire connection on a fundamental level, just like anyone else, the moment someone gets too close, an internal alarm bell goes off. This alarm warns of being controlled, engulfed, or suffocated. To manage this fear, they employ deactivating strategies. These are thoughts and behaviors designed to create distance and suppress intimacy. This can manifest in countless ways. It might be focusing on a partner's small flaws to kill the attraction. It might be fantasizing about an idealized ex or a perfect future partner to avoid committing to the person in front of them. It can be a rigid insistence on keeping boundaries like, I need a lot of space, or a refusal to engage in relationship talk. After a period of wonderful closeness, they might suddenly pull away, claiming they feel trapped. They rationalize this withdrawal as a need for freedom, but it is a deeply ingrained fear response. They often use ambiguous language, keeping their partners at arm's length, never fully committing, never fully leaving. They might say things like, I'm not a big texter, or I'm just not a very emotional person. These are not just personality quirks. They are walls built to protect a deeply buried vulnerability. They have learned that the safest way to be in a relationship is to always have one foot out the door. This independence, however, comes at a terrible cost, a profound, often unacknowledged loneliness. And when the anxious and the avoidant meet, they don't just clash. They lock into a perfect, painful dance that can last for years, a cycle of pursuit and withdrawal that leaves both parties exhausted and re-traumatized. Before we dissect that destructive dance, we must first understand the foundation from which healing becomes possible. The secure attachment style. The secure individual represents the baseline of healthy human connection. In childhood, they had a caregiver who was, for the most part, consistent, reliable, and emotionally attuned. When the child was distressed, the caregiver responded with comfort and reassurance. This didn't mean the caregiver was perfect, but they were a good enough secure base. The child learns the most empowering lesson of all. I am worthy of love and care, and I can trust others to be there for me. They internalize a sense of their own value and a belief in the general goodness of others. In adulthood, this translates into a remarkable relational ease. The secure individual is the anchor. They are comfortable with both intimacy and autonomy. They can draw close to a partner, share their deepest vulnerabilities, and also give their partner space to be their own person without feeling threatened. They don't see relationships as a source of anxiety or a threat to their freedom. They see them as a safe harbor from which to explore the world. When conflict arises, they don't panic or shut down. They see it as a problem to be solved collaboratively with their partner, not as a sign of the apocalypse. They can communicate their needs and feelings directly and respectfully because they believe their needs are valid and have a right to be heard. They are also capable of hearing their partner's needs without becoming defensive. They have an internal sense of worth that is not dependent on their partner's constant approval. This allows them to choose partners based on genuine compatibility and shared values, not on a desperate need to fix or be fixed. It's crucial to understand that secure attachment is not a magical state of perfection. Secure individuals still feel pain, get their feelings hurt, and experience relationship challenges. The difference is their resilience. They have an underlying belief that they can handle the challenge and that the connection can survive it. They are the model we should all be striving for. But what happens when we are not this model? What happens when the two most common insecure styles find each other? This brings us to the core of so much relational suffering, the anxious-avoidant trap. It is one of the most common and most destructive pairings in the modern dating world. On the surface, it seems inexplicable. Why would someone who craves closeness be drawn to someone who fears it? And why would someone who values independence be attracted to someone who seems to demand constant reassurance? The reason is deceptively simple. Each one confirms the other's core belief about relationships. The anxious person, deep down, believes they must chase and earn love. The avoidant partner, by consistently pulling away, provides them with the perfect opportunity to do just that. The chase feels familiar. It feels like love, or at least the struggle they've always associated with love. The avoidant person deep down believes that intimacy is invasive and demanding. The anxious partner, with their activating strategies and pleas for more connection, perfectly confirms this belief, justifying the avoidant's need for distance. This creates a painful, self-perpetuating dance. The closer the anxious person tries to get, the more suffocated the avoidant person feels, and the more they pull away. The more the avoidant person pulls away, the more panicked the anxious person becomes, and the harder they pursue. They are locked in a feedback loop from hell. The anxious person is constantly in a state of emotional starvation, begging for scraps of affection. The avoidant person is constantly in a state of feeling overwhelmed, longing for an escape. The tragedy of this dynamic is that moments of connection are often incredibly intense. When the avoidant partner, in a moment of their own loneliness, does turn towards the anxious partner, the relief is so profound it feels like a powerful drug. This intermittent reinforcement is highly addictive. It keeps the anxious partner hooked, always hoping for that next hit of closeness. For both, the cycle reinforces their childhood wounds. The anxious person is repeatedly abandoned. The avoidant person is repeatedly engulfed. And so they stay, sometimes for decades, living in a state of perpetual misunderstanding, convinced that this is simply what love feels like. To remain in this cycle, to ignore this dynamic, is to condemn yourself to a lifetime of relational frustration. It's to accept a shadow play of love instead of the real thing. It's to live with the constant, draining hum of anxiety or the cold, hollow ache of self-imposed isolation. It's to miss out on the profound peace, joy, and growth that a secure connection can provide. The cost of inaction is to allow a script written in your infancy to dictate the entire story of your adult life. But here is the point of radical transformation. Here is the insight that can set you free. Your attachment style is not a life sentence. It is your starting point, not your destiny. The wisdom of attachment theory isn't just to give you a label for your pain, but to hand you the map to a different future. Neuroscientists and psychologists have confirmed that adults can change their attachment style through conscious effort and new experiences. This journey is called earning a secure attachment. Earning security is the process of becoming the architect of your own mind. It begins with the unflinching self-awareness you are practicing right now, simply by listening to this. You must acknowledge your patterns without judgment. If you are anxious, you must learn to recognize the wave of panic when it rises within you. You must learn to identify your triggers, the silence, the perceived criticism, and understand that you are reacting to a ghost from the past, not just the reality of the present. The work is to feel that anxiety, to sit with it, and to not immediately act on it. Instead of sending 10 frantic texts, you learn to self-soothe, to reassure yourself, to say, "I am safe. My worth is not determined by an immediate reply." You learn to communicate your needs from a place of wholeness, not from a place of fear. Not, "Why are you ignoring me?" But when I don't hear from you, I start to feel anxious. I'd appreciate it if you could just let me know you're busy. If you are avoidant, your work is the inverse. You must learn to recognize your own deactivating strategies. You must notice the urge to find fault, to emotionally check out, to physically flee. You must understand that this is your fear of engulfment speaking. The work is to lean into the discomfort of intimacy just for a moment longer than you're used to. It's learning to identify and express a feeling instead of suppressing it. It's choosing to stay present in a difficult conversation instead of bolting for the door. It's recognizing that true strength is not impenetrable independence, but the capacity for interdependence and vulnerability. This path is not easy. It requires courage. This journey is challenging because you are actively working against decades of deeply ingrained programming. It will feel unnatural. For the anxious person, not reaching out will feel like letting the relationship die. For the avoidant person, opening up will feel dangerous and unsafe. You may be misunderstood by partners who are used to the old dance. You may feel a sense of loneliness as you let go of familiar, albeit painful, patterns. You are, in essence, reparenting yourself. You are learning to give yourself the consistent reassurance or the safe space for vulnerability that you may not have received as a child. It is the most difficult and the most rewarding work you will ever do. But in this work lies the ultimate empowerment. By understanding your attachment blueprint, you move from being a passenger in your relational life to being the driver. You stop unconsciously seeking out partners who fit your old, painful script, and start consciously choosing partners who align with the secure future you are building. Or you become the secure anchor that helps your existing partner heal as well. The goal ceases to be the desperate search for someone to complete you, or the endless quest for a freedom that only brings loneliness. The new goal is to become a whole person who can co-create a healthy, resilient, and deeply fulfilling connection. You become the architect of a love that is not built on fear and obligation, but on trust, respect, and genuine freedom. If these explorations into the architecture of your mind resonate with you, ensure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss our future deep dives. We believe that understanding these deep psychological frameworks is the key to radical self-development. Now we want to hear from you. What is your biggest realization about your own attachment style after watching this? Acknowledge it. Give it a name. Share your insight in the comments below. Your journey and your commitment to this work can illuminate the path for someone else who is still lost in the dark. Remember this: the patterns of your past do not have to be the prison of your future. The choice to build a new architecture of love begins now.